News.com.au political editor Mal Farr is speaking with Ashley Leal.
Okay, Mal, we've got an election date, September 7th. It's about a month away. What can we expect from this month?
Well, every election campaign we see on TV sets throughout the country, candidates walking through shopping centres, going to RSL clubs, shouting small beers, etc. It's a period of intense personal contact for Kevin Rudd and for Tony Abbott. Now, interesting about this is that Mr. Rudd believes that he has the edge on Mr. Abbott in talking to the punters. He believes that he's much more popular, and polling seems to show that. He's also got a contact or a connection with younger voters that Mr. Abbott doesn't. So I think we'll see the Labor Party stressing pretty heavily, Uncle Kevin out there doing all sorts of things with the rank and file as much as he can. Yeah,
and in the election campaigns, on the nightly news, we'll be seeing lots of walking through shopping centres, meeting the public. How much of an impact will that have for this election?
Well, it'll be very important. It'll be very important because that's apart from the debates, and there'll be some community hall debates run on Sky. That's the best way to keep in contact with voters, because you stop and talk. A lot of it's cosmetic, but it is a way to stop and talk to people, to hear what they're saying and to gauge whether they're with you or not.
And I mean, obviously policy is going to be sort of a major factor as well. What sort of debate can we sort of expect around these major policy issues? Will they have an impact on votes?
In the very broad sense, it'll be about competence. Kevin Rudd believes he's got an advantage over Tony Abbott on that. Tony Abbott believes he's got an advantage over Kevin Rudd because all he has to do is refer to the first Rudd Prime Ministership and some of the things that went wrong there. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins, Kevin Rudd or Kevin Rudd. What the current Kevin Rudd wants to do is expose the opposition's policy bankruptcy, as he would call it. Clearly, Mr. Abbott doesn't think his policies are bankrupt, but he'll be pressing Mr. Abbott as much as he can because he believes that he will make mistakes. I think we can expect Tony Abbott to be talking more about Kevin Rudd Mark 1 as the campaign goes on, and show that the Kevin Rudd Mark 2's claim for competency just doesn't stand up.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens in this next month. So bring on the September 7 election.
Here we go.
Thanks, Mal.
Pleasure.
Well, Ian McPhedran, as we just heard there, we're going to see both Tony Abbott and Kevin Rudd crisscrossing the country, visiting shopping malls, kissing babies, if you like. Marginal seats will be of key priorities to them. Do you think that this election is going to be won in the marginal seats of Queensland and southwestern Sydney?
I think so. I think that's pretty clear. I think there's a couple of seats, obviously, that the coalition will be banking on retaining that are now owned by independents in the tablelands with Windsor and up the coast with Oakshott. They can pretty much bank those. So yes, the marginals in Queensland, around outer Brisbane, and the marginals around outer Sydney will be vital in this campaign, and I think those people need to stand by and get their babies toughened up for some pretty ugly scenes in the weeks ahead.
There's no doubt, for Kevin Rudd to have any chance of winning this election, they've got to pick up the Labor Party has to win 8 seats in Queensland. There has to be Rudd mania north of the Tweed, and they've got to pick up those seats, and then hope that they can basically withstand the Liberal Party's advertising of Western Sydney and minimise the losses there. If they can do that, they're a chance of sneaking across the finish line in first place. But that's a very, very big challenge ahead.
We know that in recent days, Kevin Rudd's team has brought in the Digital Dream Team that helped re-elect Barack Obama. How important do you think social media is going to play to getting both sides votes?
Well, I think there's been about something like 500,000 new voters registered in the last year. So there's a lot of young people who are coming out to vote this time for the first time. They understand this social media thing better than anybody, and they're going to be the ones that will be influenced by this. So I think it's going to be very important, and I think the skills of these guys, as long as they keep them, away from the public eye, unlike the previous 4, 5, 7 visa holders who got into a bit of trouble, I think they can be satisfied that they'll do well, because I think that's going to be really important.
And Kevin Rudd has quite a big Twitter following, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, look, that's exactly right. And Kevin Rudd, 2007, he reached out to young people. They latched onto the Kevin 07 campaign. He was a sort of younger, funkier John Howard. This time up against Tony Abbott, I think, again, he'll probably be successful. Tony Abbott will be hoping to try, I guess, nullify as much as he can that social media blitz. Barack Obama's team, they're coming out. I'm not quite sure that they've actually been locked in, but they're certainly coming out to have a look to see if they can help the Labor Party. It's going to be fascinating to see how that social media strategy plays out.
As we know, particularly looking at the polls, the two-party preferred as we speak today is 50-50, but the popularity stakes between the two, there's quite a chasm. In effect, people might be voting for the more popular person or person they think is more popular. How big a part do you think the families of both Kevin Rudd's and Tony Abbott's will play?
Well, I think they will play a part. I mean, I think at the end of the day, though, people understand that it's the leader that's the important one, and I think that's why we'll see a very presidential style of campaign. Obviously, the children and the wives will play a role, but I don't think there's a lot between them. You know, I think the families are both pretty attractive, and I think they will play a role.
So, do you think Australians will be voting for the person or the party and policies?
I think this is going to be the most presidential election we've ever seen. The Labor Party wants to frame it as Kevin Rudd versus Tony Abbott. Tony Abbott will be emphasising at every occasion that this is about the team. You heard him talking about it today. So it's going to be
the collective.
The socialist collective supporting Tony Abbott. So it's going to be very important that people like Joe Hockey and Julie Bishop are on their game and don't make stuff-ups over the course of the next 33 days.
Stephen Lewis, Ian McPhedran, thank you.
Thanks, Kath.
Thanks, Kath.
Well, we'll be here live and on demand every night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the duration of the election campaign. You can also get the most up-to-date election coverage on all News Corp websites by following the links to Voice of Australia. I'm Catherine Robinson. Thanks for your company.